Greetings and salutations. Hey, how's everyone doing? So, originally this video was supposed to come out yesterday. Um, I had been really busy with my job at my work. So, um, yeah, I had been really busy. Um, I'll just say that. So, this time, like as of right now, the government is shut down. How long? Um, I do not know yet.
A lot of government would continue during a shutdown. FBI investigators, CIA officers, air traffic controllers, and agents operating airport checkpoints would continue working. So would members of the armed forces. But they wouldn't get paid until a lapse in federal funding ends. Most operations concerning Veterans Affairs would also continue, such as healthcare and the distribution of benefits. However, other agencies will be more directly affected.
I do not know how long this should last for. But what we are going to do is we're going to look at the top 5 longest government shutdowns. And in each one, I'll be giving their reasonings, like the reasonings that they were shut down. And if you're wondering, like, how do you define a government shutdown? Like, say, how does this happen? Well, a government shutdown occurs when Congress, in which they, fail, like, they aren't able to pass necessary funding to finance federal government, agencies, and operations. The government's fiscal year ends in September 30th. So, like the end of September, and a spending deal must be reached by that date to avoid a lapse in funding. So, you could have many reasons, like, say, hey, why there could be disagreements, or, like, on either side of, like, why it's, it could be taking a while to come to an agreement. So that is giving you a bit of an idea of how this happens. And number 5, we had a government shutdown in 1977. The government was shut down for 12 days. What was the reason for this? Well, the government experienced 3 separate funding lapses in 1977. The first, a 12-day shutdown, which was triggered by House Senate disagreement on restrictions on federal funding for abortions through Medicaid. Like, looking back, that sounds very, very, this seems like really relevant. What was the solution to this, though? A temporary funding measure was passed to allow for continued negotiations. Then we had, at number 4, in 1978, the government was closed for 17 days. The reason was President Jimmy Carter vetoed spending bills to fund a nuclear aircraft carrier and other public works projects.
I know that it is not easy for the Congress to act, but the fact remains that on the energy legislation, we have failed the American people.
And other public work projects. At the time, appropriation disputes did not always lead to a shutdown, but in this case, a prolonged lapse in funding occurred. What was the solution for this, though? Well, the government reopened after disputed provisions were removed from the spending bill. So, at number 3, the government was shut down for 16 days in 2013. This was in the area where President Obama was still in office. So, what had happened? Well, congressional Republicans sought to defund or delay the Affordable Care Act, and the ACA, also known as, or also Obamacare, through budget legislation.
This affecting some 800,000 federal workers, many who will still have to come to work today only to find out they will not be coming to work in the coming days. Many of them will be furloughed. Others will be delayed in getting a paycheck. Now, some of those key essential groups will continue to get paid. That, of course, including law enforcement, the military, post office workers as well. The president had a message for members of the military as we go into this shutdown.
An effort resisted by President Barack Obama and Senate Democrats. So, what was the outcome? Like, how was this resolved? Well, A bipartisan Senate deal had ended the shutdown with only major changes to the ACA. And yes, normally I would be trying to say giving a little bit of commentary, but I'm just gonna no, I won't do that. So, from number 2 we had from 1995 to 1996. The government had been shut down for 21 days. What was the reason for this? Well, Republican House Speaker Newt Gingrich and President Bill Clinton were at an impasse over the federal budget. Republicans wanted major spending cuts to programs like Medicare and Medicaid.
This is only casting a shadow over our talks. I will continue to do everything I can in good faith to reach an agreement, but it is wrong to shut the government down. Again, let me compliment the Senate on abandoning that process and voting to open the government while we continue to work, and ask the House to follow suit.
What was the resolution? How did they, were they able to move on from all this? Well, the resolution, Republicans ultimately relented and accepted a compromise proposed by President Clinton after public opinions sided with the president. So, and then at number 1, which is considered the longest shutdown that we have had for quite some time, was from 2018 to 2019, which was for 35 days. This was during President Donald Trump's first run in office. So the shutdown was a standoff between President Donald Trump and the congressional Democrats over his demand for $1.57 billion to fund the construction of a wall on the U.S.-Mexican border.
No, and I am proud, and I'll tell you what, I am proud to shut down the government for border security, Chuck, because the people of this country don't want criminals and people that have lots of problems and drugs pouring into our country. So I will take the mantle. I will be the one to shut it down. I'm not going to blame you for it. The last time you shut it down, it didn't work. I will take the mantle of shutting down. And I'm going to shut it down for border security.
In the resolution, the government reopened temporarily after months without wall funding while negotiations continued. So, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.